Hi everyone, welcome to Storytime, and today we're going to read The Great Southern Reef by Paul Venzo and Prue Francis and by Cate James. Have you heard of The Great Southern Reef? Join Professor Seaweed and her friends Frankie and Sam to learn more about one of Australia's best kept secrets. The Great Southern Reef spans thousands of kilometers along the coast from northern New South Wales to Western Australia. It is home to giant kelp forests and fascinating animals such as rock lobsters, sea snails, and sponges. Explore the sandy beaches with these inquisitive trio and discover marine curiosities that are washed up along the coast after a big storm. You may be inspired to go beachcombing yourself to learn and care about the animals and seaweed that you find. Okay, let's do this. The Great Southern Reef. Professor Seaweed opened her window and looked out towards the horizon. A big storm is coming, she thought. Great. That night, the storm grumbled overhead. Rain pelted down, waves heaved and crashed and tumbled onto the shore. The next morning, the big tide had washed back out to sea. Hurry up, said Professor Seaweed to Frankie and Sam. It's time to go exploring. Along the sand lay treasures from the ocean floor. It was a perfect day for beachcombing. Sam spotted something white and brittle. What's that? It looks like a tiny surf boat, said Sam. Is that a cuttlefish? Asked Frankie. Yes, but it's not really a fish, said Professor Seaweed. It belongs to a group of animals known as mollusks. What you found is the hard inner shell of the cuttlefish. Professor Seaweed found an empty green and white striped turbo snail, the perfect home for a little sea snail. Snails are mollusks too, just like cuttlefish, but snail cells are on the outside, she explained. People sometimes take the cells and cuttlefish home, but they shouldn't, the professor said. Cells, cuttlefish bones, and seaweed are part of a big ocean ecosystem. Birds, snails, crabs, and tiny insects need the debris you see on the beach to survive. At one end of the beach were rock pools. Sam saw something in the water and reached a hand towards it. Sam, be careful, cried Professor Seaweed. That's a sea anemone. Their tentacles are sensitive because they use them to catch food. If we touch the bodies, we might damage them. Remember that rock pools are home to many animals. Some of them can be dangerous to touch and some are very delicate. We should always try to leave everything as we find it, added Professor Seaweed. Except for rubbish, said Frankie. Frankie was right. The storm had washed up bits of colored plastic, drink bottles, shopping bags. We can't help to keep the ocean healthy by picking up rubbish from the beach, said the professor. They collected as much as they could carry to take home for recycling. Well done. Look over here, cried Sam. What's this? Frankie peered at a strange object closely. It was brown and looked squishy. It's a shark egg, said the professor. This belongs to a cat shark. See those little horns on its side? They help to anchor the egg to the seagrass meadows on the ocean floor. Not all sharks lay eggs, though some give birth to live young. Long strands of brown kelp and little Tufts of green sea lettuce lay across the sand. Do you remember what we call the piles of seaweed that wash up on the shore? Asked the professor. Rock! Yelled Frankie and Sam. Ooh. Sam discovered little beads of seaweed in the shape of pearls. It looks like a necklace, Sam said. You're right, that's why it's called Neptune's necklace, exclaimed Professor Seaweed. Can we grow this on our garden? Asked Sam. No, she replied. It needs cool water with a rocky reef for the seaweed to hold on to. Its home is a special type of garden in the sea. Somewhere like our reef, asked Frankie. Yes, the professor exclaimed. The Great Southern Reef is full of marine life, Seaweed continued. It's home to harlequin fish, spotted wobblegongs, and weedy sea dragons, golden decorator crabs, and red rock lobsters, urchins, and sponges, and huge forests of kelp that swirl around in the current. That evening, Professor Seaweed, Frankie, and Sam sat together looking at a large map. Wow, said Frankie. The Great Southern Reef stretches all the way from New South Wales to Western Australia. It's important for us to look after the reef and treat marine life with care, said Professor Seaweed. The animals and seaweed that grow on the reef are part of our lives too. What do you mean? Asked Sam. Well, seaweed is used in products like toothpaste and vitamins, the professor answered. One day it might even replace plastic. Perhaps people will create farms in the ocean around the reef. Then they could grow great big rows of yummy seaweed. For seaweed ice cream? Asked Sam. Yes, cried the professor, for delicious seaweed ice cream. What a lovely story, guys. It's a very lovely story about the Great Southern Reef of Australia. And there is quite a description for the Great Southern Reef. Maybe we can read 2 paragraphs of it. The Great Southern Reef mentioned in this book really does exist. It stretches along the coastline of New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, and Western Australia. It is 8,000 kilometers long and over 5,000 different species call it home. The reef is considered a biodiversity hotspot, meaning that it's incredibly rich in marine life. It has also been named a hope spot by the Mission Blue Fountain because it is critical to the health of the world's ocean environments. Now, the Great Southern Reef is known as a temperate reef. Temperate reefs are usually found in cool waters and feature hard lower layers that teem with life. Unlike the tropical Great Barrier Reef, where corals grow in warm water and define the overall reef structure, the Great Southern Reef is made up of interconnected forests of golden kelp, Eclonia radiata. A type of seaweed, this kelp is fountain of the reef, as it provides food and shelter for a wide variety of life. Wow, what a lovely book about the Great Southern Reef, and what an adventure for Professor Seaweed, Sam, and Frankie.